All right, we are live. Hello and welcome to Women Speakers Association's WSATV Women's Premier Show. And I am Laura Rubenstein, your host and producer of the show. And have you ever felt like when there are stressful situations, you can make an impact, whether you're speaking on stage or you want to engage with another culture. There's courage you need. And today's guest experts are going to talk about the courage, how to access that courage and make that impact. So let's go over and say hi to our experts. And the first expert I want to say hi to is Tanya. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tanya Fitzpatrick. I'm the founder of World Footprints, a socially conscious travel media platform that can be found at worldfootprints.com. And I'm saying hello from Washington, D.C.
Great to have you here all the way from Washington, D.C. And let's say hi to Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Laura. My name's Mary Wong. I'm actually from Brisbane, Australia, but today I'm coming to you from Chicago, where I'm here on holidays. My website is optimalcoaching.com.au, and I am a speaker, mentor, and coach. I work in that area. Thank you.
That's great. Great to have you here. You too inspired me based upon I was looking at your websites. I was thinking about what you do in the world. And, it takes courage to do those kind of things of stepping out into other cultures, stepping out onto stage. So could you give us some advice on how people can access the courage and make the impact in the world? And Tanya, I thought you could talk to us first.
Sure, I'd be happy to. To me, courage is almost a choice. And especially now, today, in such a divisive world, we have to make a choice to get to know other people, other cultures, and find our own truth within those places, because we receive so much negative feedback from some mainstream outlets, media outlets. And so, you can start small. And that's what I would say to anyone who might be afraid of another culture that they have a misperception about. And a small way to become acquainted is to maybe go to a local restaurant, an ethnic restaurant, and enjoy the food and talk to the staff and get to know them. Because, Laura, I heard it said so many times that we don't go to war with people that we break bread with. And so as a small step, begin to break bread. And beyond that, there are ethnic festivals all over this country, all over the world. You could attend an ethnic festival or an event just to immerse yourself a little bit more in a new culture. And then after that, just travel. I'm all about travel, and I think it's the most important and educational thing that anyone can do for themselves.
And when you think about people doing this, what do you think is the greatest value to them in stepping out into another culture?
They get to learn more about themselves, and even maybe an unconscious bias they may have about another culture. I certainly learned that I had an unconscious bias, and it shocked me. I'm a civil rights attorney. I'm a human rights advocate, and yet I found I had an unconscious bias when I met a group of South Africans years ago on a train to Budapest. I was traveling by myself, and this group engaged me and actually invited me to enjoy the weekend in Budapest with them. And knowing, that I was traveling alone, I didn't have plans, I didn't even know where I was going to stay. And so I was invited to stay in their hotel. And it was the most wonderful opportunity. And it opened my mind to how I've been led to perceive other cultures. And frankly, my view of South Africans at that time only came from what I heard in the news. All I knew about South Africa was apartheid. And at the time I met this group, apartheid had long since been over. And so that's a learning curve, a valuable learning opportunity that I had. The other thing is, for managers, for corporate people, you learn how to build on skills that are very transferable to corporations, leadership. You learn time management, you learn money management, you learn team building. So there's so many valuable things that one can learn just from traveling.
There really is, and you never know what part of your life it's going to impact. So I love your advice. Thank you for encouraging and inspiring us to start small in our steps towards bringing our awareness of other cultures together. So, and that takes courage. And
Yes.
but starting small, is the first step. And I know that you have a lot of resources to offer. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to also hear from Mary, because Mary, you work with people about having the courage to make an impact from stage and their voice and their message. So what advice do you have for people?
Oh, thank you, Laura. That's a great question. One of the problems that a lot of people have with getting up on stage is that they're afraid of speaking in front of people. And when you're afraid to show who you really are to people, you aren't able to be yourself. My biggest tip to people when they get up to be and stand and be on stage is to be themselves, be you. Because within you, you have everything that you need. You have incredible genius within you. You're able to share that genius through telling your story and using that story to connect in a really deep way with your audience. When you do that, the people in your audience start to really resonate with you. When you do that with passion and with love and spread that message with passion and with love, it helps the people within your audience to go, yeah, I want more of this. I want to hear more of this. And allowing yourself to shine, to just be you, to let them see who you are and not being afraid to do that is the thing that really makes people stand out in this world where there's so much noise and so much fakeness. So many people in this world are trying to be something they're not. You don't need to do that. Just be you. Be open and share yourself, and you'll really get the outcomes that you want from standing and speaking when you do that. It's magical.
Yeah, and Gloria is giving us a big thumbs up, and I agree. And the first thing I think about when you say just be yourself, like it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
So, what advice do you have for, okay, I'm standing there on stage. I remember I have to just be myself. Do I cop to the fact I'm afraid, or I'm going, or what I'm feeling, or what does it mean to just be myself?
To be prepared to show your values, to be prepared to really tell openly and honestly your story, showing your vulnerabilities, showing that you are a real person, just like everybody else. Some of us have this idea that we need to get up and show this persona of this great and wonderful person who never has anything go wrong because we want to be this great leader. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. People pick up on that. Within our brains, we have a little spot just here called the rostromedial prefrontal cortex, and that little spot it's actually been proven by science. It's a spot that people used to call the third, or still call in some cases, the third eye. It's now been proven by science that that spot exists, and it's a part of that little part of the frontal lobe of the brain, and what it does is it actually senses what's going on around you with the levels of trust and distrust that people have of you. And if you are giving out that love and that openness and that honesty, the people who are in your audience listening to you will pick up without even knowing they're doing it, using that piece of their brain, will pick up on what you're giving out. So just be prepared to be honest. If you're nervous, it's okay. It's okay to own that nervousness. I mean, I'm a bit nervous. Here I am on the TV show today. That makes me nervous. We all get nervousness from time to time, and it's okay to feel that. What you want to be able to do is just go, you know what, I'm a little bit nervous today, but I've got a really important message that I really want to share with you. Can you bear with me if I shake a little bit? Sometimes it's okay to do that. it really does depend on the situation and the audience.
Yeah. And when I find people actually acknowledge that and take the extra 10 seconds to do that, it's amazing how that dissipates the fear, right? It's like just saying that one thing could transform, and then you can get past it. It's almost like you're giving yourself permission, like, okay, everybody knows it. All right, then it's done. Oh, okay, I can move on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Acknowledging it and moving on is really, really powerful. If we try to pretend, that's when we're fighting it, and we've got that angst of the fight within ourselves of trying to fix something that we can't fix. It goes away naturally when we allow ourselves to go, yes, it's there. I see it for what it is. It's okay. I can move on from this. And that's where the power lies.
Yeah, and that takes courage. And each of you are talking about the courage to speak up and say what's true for you, or to show up, like you said, Tanya, somewhere that's uncomfortable for you. So I love this topic today, the courage to make an impact, because that's what we are all about here at Women Speakers Association. I'd like to get to know each of you just a little bit more, and tell us who do you work with, what do you do for the people you work with, and maybe a story about how you've helped someone, or how you got here. Tanya, why don't you go first?
Sure. Well, I speak to people who may feel a little bit stuck, but primarily people in associations or multinational corporations who are challenged with intercultural dynamics. And um, I think one of one of my favorite stories, talking about people who are stuck and afraid, comes from a colleague of mine, another attorney. I'm also a lawyer, so another attorney I was working with. She watched my first TEDx talk. And in my TEDx talk, I actually shared the story I mentioned earlier about the South African family, and just the wonderful opportunity and time I had with this family traveling alone. And what she picked up on was that, I was a solo traveler, female, with no plans and very little money. And yet I met this wonderful family. And that, I think, is one of the most beautiful things about travel, are the people that you meet. And she told me, she said, Ton, I'm not afraid to travel by myself anymore. And I thought that was just such a victory, because she waits for people generally to travel, and sometimes her travel friends will fall out and she'll end up not traveling. But she has actually gone on a couple of solo trips by herself, and I thought that was very impactful, and so I was very proud that she heard that story.
That is a wonderful story, and spreading that is just bringing our world closer together, like you said.
Yes.
And Mary, I'd love to hear about, who do you work with, what do you do, and maybe a story about either how you help someone or how you got here.
Thanks, Laura. I work with socially conscious people who have a message to share. I find that there's a lot of people out there who see problems that go on in the world and have an idea of how to fix them, but they don't know how to get their message out. So that's the group of people that I like to work with, and I help them to connect deeply with their audience. I help them to structure their presentations and deliver those presentations with heart, so that the audience really gets to see that person behind the idea, and that helps them to connect really deeply with that audience. I really do believe in just being yourself, presenting honestly and openly, particularly in recognizing the power that lies in your own story. So many people don't realize how much power there is in their experiences, in the journey that they've lived on the way through, and quite often that needs to be facilitated out. I remember one woman that I worked with in particular. She'd been in business for a really, really long time, so 20 to 30 years in business, and reasonably successful at it. But she didn't realise her own story until I sat with her to facilitate that story. And this woman, when you asked her, why is it that she does what she does? Because, in business or in any type of organizational situation, if we can't explain our why these days, people don't kind of connect as well with us. So when I asked her why, she said, oh, I don't know, I'm just seem to be really good at business and I don't like seeing people struggle. So I like to just go in and help out. And I just have this knack. I go in, I see what's wrong, I fix it, and then their business goes fine. And that was her story, and that's the story she'd been telling. But when I sat with her and worked with her, it turned out that she'd actually grown up from life as a small child in another country that was in civil war. And her father was a businessman, and she'd basically grown up on his hip. He had taken her with him every time he went out to do business. And so she had learned everything she knew about business from her father, who was a very astute businessman, basically in the cradle, which is why she always had this knack, because she'd learnt it when she was so young. And at the same time, her family were doing reasonably well because her father was such a good businessman. But there were other people around her who were literally starving to death. And she did not realize why she was so passionate about going in when people were struggling and helping them out. But once she realized that story, once we facilitated that story and she realized all of that, she actually literally had tears. It was a really magic moment. She just went, oh my God, I never realized. And that's the thing. If we don't get our story facilitated and work out what's behind why we do what we do, then we're missing out on an opportunity to really deeply connect. And that's what she's able to do now. She has a much better, faster connection with people, and particularly when she's doing speaking events, when she's able to tell her story about why it's so important to her, why it means so much.
Thank you so much. That is, such a moving example, and so was yours, Tanya. And this is what it takes to have courage. You all have brought to the table things for people to think about, to remember to do, to work closely with people like yourselves, to bring forth the impact they want to make. And again, that's what today is about. It's about the courage to make an impact. And with your message, that's what we do here at Women Speakers Association. If you're interested in making an impact with your message, then you want to check us out at joinwsa.com. We're out of time today. I'm so excited for next week. We have our celebration happening right back here at 12:30 Pacific on Thursday. We're going to celebrate our 2019 together. So please join us back here. If you're a Premier member, you can come on and we'll celebrate your wins. Have a wonderful day, rest of your day. Go make the impact. You have what it takes. Your message matters. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.